Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pet Peeves podcast, episode number 38. I have one of my favorite comedians in Los Angeles, one of the first friends I made in the roast battle. Welcome to the show, Alex Hooper. How's it going, Alex?
Good, Albert. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm really good, man. I always love doing an early podcast. You know, if it's in the morning, you wake up, you get something accomplished. It always feels good. And I always love when I have guests on, like I was telling you right before we recorded, that love their pet. Love their pet.
For sure.
So that's why I have you on. Aside from you being a hilarious comedian, I love that you post about your dog a lot.
Well, it's become part of my image. By the way, I love that now in quarantine times, 11 a.m. is super early in the morning, because pre-COVID, this would not have been early for me at all. I would have been up and running since 7 a.m. But you're right. At this time, during these times, I'm like, well, 11, okay, we'll see. But yeah, my dogs are a big part of my life. They've influenced a lot of my comedy and just the way I live, and they've become a part of me, so I share them.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should be, man. I'm a huge animal lover. Obviously, everybody knows that. But that it becomes a part of your personality, it becomes a part of your online persona. It's not even like you do it intentionally. It's just because they're a big part of your life.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, honestly, people like to look at cute animals. And so
it doesn't hurt.
If I can put a cute animal against my adorable face, then you get double the cuteness and everybody wins.
Everybody wins, man. That's exactly, I always say, I never meant to lean into the animal thing in my comedy. It wasn't intentional, but it just seemed to make everybody happy. And the material's there. And then it's like you get double promotion when you post anything about a pet.
For sure. I mean, I don't think you know this about me, but I didn't even like animals until about 6 years ago. Like I never had a good relationship with a dog growing up. I was terrified of animals, and when you're terrified of animals, they sense that, and then they become terrified of you in the same way. So if you see a big dog and you tense up, that dog gets tense around you, and I couldn't break that cycle, and I didn't even want a dog. And then my fiance, girlfriend at the time, she said, yeah, well, I want a dog, and you're not the one that's home alone every night because I'm out doing comedy. And I was like, well, I got zero response to that, so I guess we're getting a dog. And she asked me, she said, well, if you had to get a dog, what would you want? And I thought about it, and pugs were just so funny looking to me. And we went and looked at them, and sure enough, we both fell in love. So, Yeah,
that was going to be my next question. Why the pug? It was just the cutest one.
They're just so silly looking. Like, if people always go, oh, it's the Men in Black dog. Oh, it's this. Like, there's a certain connotation about pugs that they are just these little fur sack alien creatures. And they don't really, they're just, they don't look like other dogs. They were bred fully for royalty. Like, they are meant to just sit on the laps of kings and do nothing all day except look adorable. Right. Here's a fun little fact about pugs. Back when they were being bred in the in like ancient Chinese times, they were what they tried to do with the wrinkles is they tried to make it the symbol for Prince, not the artist formerly known as, but an actual.
Although there's a similarity.
Yeah, oh, very much so. I mean, you should see my pug Shred on Purple Rain. It can kill that shit. But really, if the wrinkles had the perfect indentation that it would look like the Chinese symbol for Prince, then they considered that the perfect pug.
Yeah, I think I knew that because how they have their pictograph language, and it is something I think I've learned or seen somewhere, that fact. And that's what I always tell people. They're like, why does our dogs and cats act like they're better than us? Because we've been worshiping them for centuries. For centuries, we treat them like royalty, we treat them like gods, and now you wonder why your dog's got a little bit of an attitude or where your cat's kind of pissy. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's like that old, there's an old Seinfeld bit of if the aliens saw us walking our dogs, they would think the dogs were the leaders. Of just wait a minute, you're just walking behind this thing and picking up its shit? Clearly this thing owns you.
Yeah, who's the master? Who's on what end of the leash,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think about that shit, dude, because I walk my dog and I'm just always, I'm high and I'm thinking about contradictions, and it's how is this a thing? How is this a thing that I'm following my dog around, waiting for her to shit, and I'm like staring at her asshole for signs of pre-poop. So I know, like, all right, she's about to poop. She's about to poop, and I'm like ready to pick it up, you know?
I think about it all the time, especially when it's a particularly like messy one. When I'm just like, how is this so not only acceptable for me to do this, but I'm so happy to do it. Like, you know,
That's the thing.
My dog's gonna poop no matter what, and even still, I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and no matter what, every time they do it, I'm like, "Good job, you did it!" Like they need some kind of encouragement, like they just did their homework.
I think about that too. Every day I wake up like, and not in a hurry necessarily, but excited to take care of my pets. Like the first thing I had to do is feed the cat, feed the dog, feed the fish, take care of the bearded dragon. And I do it with like more joy than I do any other job. Do you know what I mean? Where it's literally a routine, a job. It's not like comedy. It's not fun. I'm not necessarily having fun. I'm not making a room full of people laugh. But the amount of joy I get out of like just knowing I'm taking care of my pet and I'm building that bond and that it's going to prevent problems in the future and just, you know, just like I said, make a happier pet. It gives me so much joy. Like it's almost like you felt when you were a little kid and you're waking up to watch 6 a.m. cartoons. It's just like, this is this thing that I look forward to every morning. I look forward to that every morning, even though it's not like I'm not actually doing anything, you know?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I used to be on the road so much and travel so often that even though I was with my pets, like often during the week, I would lose huge chunks of time without them. And one thing this quarantine has done is really allowed me to really spend time with them every single day, roll around on the floor, throw a ball, cuddle, like, you know, feed them different little treats and stuff like that. And really like take the time that I sometimes wouldn't get to before. And, you know, the forced slowdown of everything, as shitty as it's been, has, you know, kind of been a little bit of a blessing in disguise for me. I mean, that's a rough thing to say when multiple of my friends are dead, but it's,
Yeah.
but even still, I mean, just being forced to say, hey,
Yeah.
Alex, stop and take a break has been huge for me.
You know, I think besides it being a common joke I'm hearing now, my dog and cat, I never spent that much time with them. I had Craig Conant on the other day, and we were talking about how like your pets think you're a loser because suddenly you're not going anywhere. Like, what happened? Did you lose all your friends, motherfucker? You're like, in the beginning of the quarantine, your pets are like happy you're there. But then towards the end of the quarantine, they're like, don't you have a life? Don't you have a job? Like, what happened to you?
Oh,
fucking
for sure.
loser.
Like a month in, one of my dogs looked at me with this face that's like, can I have some space? And I was like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, I'm in your territory now. Sorry.
Exactly. Now you're the annoying one.
Yeah. So I was sleeping and then you picked me up just to cuddle me? What the fuck, Dad?
I do. Yeah, it's exactly that. But aside from the jokes, like in reality, I spent more time with my pets than I ever had in a year, for sure. More than a year. But like I only had my cat for a year, my bearded dragon less than a year. But in that time, I spent so much time with them where I'm like holding them, picking them up, playing with them, moving them around, you know, just interacting them when I'm gone at work 10 hours a day. Like I work 10 hours, 10 hour shifts, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's not bad. I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off every week, but I'm gone 12 hours a day. And then a lot of those nights I was going out to do comedy. So just being gone. And you don't even notice it until you're home for fucking 8 weeks straight. Then you're like, wow, this is new. This is new territory.
Oh, certainly. I mean, well, at this point, what I honestly worry about a little bit is that my dogs are actually developing worse separation anxiety. Like before, I've actually taught my dogs that if I say the word comedy to them, that means I'm leaving for a little while, but I'll be back. They know that word. I go comedy, and they go, oh, okay, and then they're okay with me leaving. But like last weekend, I went away to Yosemite for 3 days to go camping.
Yeah.
And they apparently, like when I left, they just stayed at the door, like staring for like a couple hours because they're just not when they saw my bags packed, they were like,
wow.
what is this? You don't do this anymore. Whatever that comedy thing is you used to do is dead. So I know you're not doing that. So where the fuck are you going, Dad? Where are you going? And why aren't you bringing us? And I'm just like, I just need to get away for a couple days and go to nature and go swimming and go camping and look at the stars, please. And they're just like, oh, you're so much better than us, aren't you?
case means or what the bags mean, that you're going to be gone for a while.
It's the best when they start climbing on top of your bag while you're
Oh my
packing
God.
it. They just like make a stand. They're like, no, I'm sorry. If you're going anywhere, I will also be going.
I'm coming with you. Yeah, but I think the separation anxiety thing, you're hitting a excellent point there that I never really considered, because we just bought a Furbo. It's a pet camera for the dog for when we're not home. We just got it. We got it maybe 2 weeks ago.
I thought it was a sex toy, so I'm glad you did say when I was like, ooh, a Furbo.
I'm sure I could stick my penis in there somewhere. I'm sure. Where there's a will, there's a way. But that's not what it's meant for. But there is a camera on it which picks up motion. And funny you mention it. It'll pick up when you walk by, and say I'm like getting out of the shower and I walk by the camera. Later on, there's a video of my dick on the fucking like Furbo app that, you know, that anybody can see who works for Furbo. And I'm just like, whatever.
Somebody's in the room going, yo, it's Escobedo's dick again. Get over here.
It's 7:30 a.m. His dick. Everybody, it's dick time.
You know, they probably have a whole room full of screens where they know what time each person's dick is going to be on there based on their routine.
And my wife too, man. I'll be watching the Furbo later too, and there goes my wife's titties walking by, and it's like, oh shit, man. Furbo's out there, man. They're getting a lot of laughs.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's 8 p.m. on a Saturday night. You know the Gonzalez family's about to bone. Get in here, everyone.
But besides that, it's now like it alerts us if the dog walks by the camera or walks in the room, or if there's motion, or if she's barking. So for the first time ever, it sent us an alert that she barked for 3 minutes straight. And I never knew my dog would ever do that, you know? But then we start watching the camera, and as soon as we leave, she sits by the door. And we never knew that she just sits by the door. Just sits there. She'll sit there for hours. She'll just sit by the door. And I'm like, did she used to do that? Because we didn't, like I said, we got the Furbo 2 weeks ago. So after 8 weeks of being home with quarantine. So maybe her separation anxiety has increased, or maybe she's always been that way. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to do, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's very possible that this is a new development with her. Like, my dogs it used to be like, okay, we're gone. They'll stay at the door for a minute, and then they'll just walk back to the couch, their bed, wherever they want to go in the apartment. But now, for sure, they are just so confused when one, or especially if both of us are leaving, they really don't understand that. Because my fiance works from home anyway, so she's usually here. So if both of us are going somewhere, they're like, but what did we do? Don't we get to come? It's like, yeah, and they just get super confused.
Yeah, my wife luckily we're on opposite schedules pretty much, where they're not home alone too much. But also my job, I work at the hospital. It's not a hospital, it's a teaching college. And I can bring my dog, you know, I can bring my dog anytime. So any of the times that my wife and I had ever been where she would need to be alone too long, I would take her with me. So she's never really been alone that long for too many hours, but you know, she should still, I mean, she's already 5, honestly, like she should be used to it. I'm already thinking about crating her, because we used to crate her while we were gone, but now that we have the cat, we don't really want the cat out and the dog in the crate. I just think it feels mean, even though I don't have a problem with keeping your dog in a crate. If you're not home, you put your dog in a crate while you're at work or whatever, as long as it's not too long, I don't have a problem with crate training. So certainly. if my dog is going to keep barking and sitting at the door, she stayed in the same spot at the door. So she might as well be in a crate where she can't like claw at the door if she gets more anxious, or piss on shit, or pee or shit. Like she'll shit and pee on things when she's anxious, like when she's upset, even if she just went to the bathroom, or if she's scared, if there's a lot of fireworks, you know? So it's just like, you know, I believe in the crate. I strongly believe in the crate. And in my class, I teach the crate, even though I might not necessarily use it the way I teach it. I believe in the crate as far as like a standard way to control your pet when you're not home.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, especially in the beginning, I haven't put either of my dogs in a crate in a few years, but in the beginning, that's a very standard way for them to learn. Absolutely. This is my space, and they should feel comfortable in it. And if you're doing it correctly, then they will. Absolutely. It's that the people that have to force them in there, and then like every single time, and then they still can't figure out that they're leaving. Like, I mean, my dogs eventually got to the point when they weren't destructive at all around the apartment. So it's like, okay, you guys can be on your own and do whatever the hell you want to do. But
my dog is really good, so I don't have to use the crate, except for she does, you know, like she does have anxiety, the separation anxiety, where what I'm really worried about is her barking and annoying the neighbors. Like if she destroys my shit, I could buy new shit. I love my dog more than I love my shit. But if she starts barking and annoying the neighbors, like that's a different kind of problem. Now you're like affecting other people's lives.
Oh, certainly. I have a good friend actually that he got a new puppy about 3 months before quarantine started, and great dog, but it will not stop barking when they go anywhere. So it was at the point when like we went out to dinner one night and he was like, I just got to drop my dog off at the dog hotel before we go. And I was like, oh, it's that bad? Like, he's like, we cannot leave her alone in the apartment or we will come back to a barrage of notes from the landlord and phone calls and everything else. And now that quarantine happened, I'm not sure that dog is ever going to get over its separation anxiety, because now the only life it knows is life with the two of them in their apartment.
Bark collars work, shot collars work, man. In an emergency situation like that, where it's like you're gonna get evicted or your dog's gonna get put in some kind of doggy jail because it won't stop barking. I don't like shot collars, but do they work? Absolutely. Absolutely it works.
I've been tempted to buy one before for my own, and I never actually pulled the trigger on it. But there was a couple times when like he wouldn't stop, and I was just like, I'm this close to getting it, and I never did. It's part of me like I know my dog could handle it. Like my 6-year-old could handle it. He's tough. He goes hiking with me and stuff like that. He works himself up all the time. Yeah, for sure. He's physically fit enough to take a shock of electrocution, but I've never gone down that path. Maybe one day.
Well, I was against it, right? I was against it even in school when they're teaching us about it. And I don't know if you know that I'm a veterinary technician. I don't even like introduce myself anymore.
I've heard plenty of jokes about that before.
Okay, great. So I when I was first in school, I was against it because it seems so like torture, just like punishment. But if you, like I said, again, this certain circumstances is what it's used for. But when I seen people barking, and that you only need to use the shock collar for like maybe a couple of weeks at the most. Like at the most, you only have to use it for a couple of weeks, and then you never have to use it again. The dog just learns. So it's a quick way, because most likely your dog's going to dramatically decrease the amount it barks within the first couple of days of using the shock collar. But does it hurt? Yes. And I've seen it when the dog is brand new with it, when the dog is not expecting the shock, and they do scream and cry and they do freak out. But then they get desensitized to it, they get used to it, and eventually they stop barking. And I've never seen a shock collar not work. But is it traumatic in the beginning? Yes, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you really get to that level of desperation, then you really need something like that. We've never gotten there. Like luckily, like our pug's barks are not that intense. They're not that loud, so.
Yeah, it's not like a giant dog or like a howling husky. Those are the ones that really get people in trouble. The huskies that don't stop howling.
Oh, for sure. However, I will say, so we have our apartment, we're on a first floor, a little bit raised up, and we have a huge window behind our couch that looks out to the street. And my dogs, if they see something out there, they will start barking, howling, especially when they know we just came home, they hear a car pull in or anything like that. And they go so crazy. And I've had people actually walk by before and being like, oh my God, are those dogs okay? What's going on in there? Do we need to rescue those dogs? I'm like, they're mine. They see that I'm out here. That's all that's happening. They're just very excited. But people go crazy because they do this almost little pug opera where they bark and woo together in perfect harmony. And it is jarring when it happens, and they will go at it until the person comes inside the apartment.
Yeah, I don't think of a pug as a particularly noisy dog at all, but I know that they can be. They just have a lot of energy.
Yeah, well, that's one of mine does and one of mine doesn't. I have the 6-year-old who has always been super energetic, really fast, really in shape. He's really skinny. People always comment on how healthy he looks. And then I have
this is the one I know about. This is the one I see in your
yeah. If I'm ever at Runyon and holding up a dog with his tongue hanging out, and his
your
tongue,
pug yoga.
Pug yoga is the other one.
Oh wow, because she's calmer.
She's super calm. Yeah, she's very chill. She doesn't do the mountains and stuff like that. She just wants to sleep on pillows all day. So that's how pug yoga happened. Is it just kind of became a joke that, wow, look how chill she is. I can just put her on my back while I do downward dog and she'll just sit up there. And then That's how pug yoga just kind of organically started as one Instagram picture and then grew into a global movement.
That's amazing. What's your dog's name? What are your two dogs' names?
So the 6-year-old is Carlton. We got him when he was 10 weeks old. And then the 10-year-old is Kimchi. We got her when she was 5. And they are from respectively Mexico and Korea.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing, man. You're speaking my two languages. You know, I lived in South Korea for 5 years.
I did know that about you. Yeah.
Yeah, I taught English out there and did stand-up. I did stand-up with a group called Stand Up Seoul, and we just toured the country and like did stand-up. It was fucking awesome. But I grew to love kimchi. Kimchi is delicious, which I did not know before I lived in Korea. I would have never even tried it.
It's so good. I'm actually,
It's so good.
I just made my second batch ever. One of my quarantine
You made it?
activities. Yeah. One of my quarantine activities has been, I started making my own pickles.
Wow.
And then after I made a few batches of pickles and they turned out really good, I decided I was going to try kimchi because I love it so much. And it's pretty expensive if you buy it in most
Oh,
stores.
hell yeah. Compared to Korea, like what I can get for $2 in Korea cost me $9 here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And so that's, I decided I was going to try to make my own. And the first batch I tried a couple weeks ago, it came out way too salty. Like somewhere in the recipe, something went wrong and it was way too salty, but I used it for Korean fried rice and it turned out fine. But the batch I have right now, it's on day 3 of fermentation. I'm going to try it later. I tried it yesterday and it was fucking amazing.
What are you keeping it in? Like a kimchi pot, or did you just find some other way to ferment it?
No, so I just I used old pickle jars and then an old kimchi jar, and I just the process is actually really pretty easy. You have to go.
Sure, I mean I've made it before.
Okay.
I taught kindergarten, and every year there's kimchi day. So every year you sit with the kids and you make kimchi, and you're right. It's not a difficult process. You just have to have the right ingredients and recipe or whatever. But I've never actually sat there for the fermentation process. We would make it and eat it fresh, honestly. We would eat it like day of or the next day.
Oh, really?
Because there's like a bunch of different kinds of kimchi, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
so the fresh kind tastes different. Obviously, it's like a fresh salad versus like a wilted, pickled, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like a cucumber versus a pickle. So, but the fresh stuff is fucking good. It's just like salad, kimchi flavored salad. You know what I mean? But the actual fermentation process of it, I've never done that. How long does it take?
So anywhere from 1 to 5 days, like I think the sweet spots. That's why I tested it yesterday on day 2. I'm going to try it. And yesterday was really good. I'm going to try it again today. But when I opened the pickle jar, it just started bubbling immediately.
Wow.
So I was like,
awesome.
Oh, okay. I know what's happening. Like I can feel it. I can see it. And it's like, it's super fresh and spicy. And, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't, I lost my entire way of life during this. Like, I used to go to work every day at Universal Studios where I sold tickets for 11 years. And then I would go home and then I would go out and do stand-up. And every single day I was booked up for like 14, 15 hours a day between work and stand up. And I was just going as fast as I could. And when this happened, I was like, okay, I don't have work anymore. I don't have stand up anymore. What the hell am I going to do with myself? So one of the activities among many others has been like, well, what's a food? I can start cooking little things. And then the idea of pickling came in, and then from that just led to kimchi. And you gotta do things that make you feel accomplished, and like you learned a new skill. I had never thought about making that stuff before, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, well, now I feel like I did something with my week.
Hell yeah, dude. I would love to try some Alex Hooper kimchi.
Dude, well, that might be my new merch whenever we can go on the road again.
Yeah. And just because your dog's name is Kimchi, it all kind of makes sense. You could sell some merch and then Carlton, I don't know what his brand could be. What's he into?
Let's see. He's into ripping up carpets.
He could be the carpet muncher.
He could be the carpet muncher. They do love bananas. We have what we call banana time every morning, where I sit and eat a banana and they share it with me.
Oh, that's
I rip
funny.
off.
I think I've seen like YouTube, or maybe somebody. I have seen like videos of pugs and bananas for some reason.
I didn't know if it was like all dogs or anything. One thing that Carlton is very, very athletic. So one thing I can do with him is like I'll eat a bite of carrot and then I'll literally just launch it into his mouth from like 8 feet away. Like I'll spit it out of my mouth and directly into his, and he'll jump up and catch it. He's
Yeah, my dog is the opposite of athletic. It would hit her right in the face.
But have you ever seen those slow motion videos of dogs trying to catch food that aren't good at it? Those are the best.
Of course.
That's the funniest
That's my
thing.
dog. My dog is the dumbest. She's the worst one. She's so bad I wouldn't even put her on those. It would be embarrassing for her.
When they jump up and completely miss and it just hits him in the face, I laugh so hard.
Dude, I had dogs my whole life, and I never knew that there were dogs out there that can't catch. Like, I didn't know that. And then you meet dogs that like are not even close. Like, they don't have any catching ability. And it's like, how is that possible? That's like a human who isn't born knowing how to walk.
Well,
I guess
we have those though. So
that's true.
You know?
That's true. It all exists.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that, we don't know what's going on, whatever in their brain.
All
chemistry.
things being equal. I'm pretty unathletic. Like, I can't play basketball. I can't do ball sports. Like, I grew up wrestling, so I could wrestle.
That's a ball sport. Ball sports. Greco-Roman wrestling. Yeah, that's a full ball sport.
Yeah, you ain't wrong, man. You ain't wrong. Did you do some Greco-Roman in your days?
No, I never did wrestling. I was always like a team sports kind of guy, like soccer, basketball, baseball when I was a kid. And then I really got into rollerblading, like aggressive rollerblading.
Oh, no shit.
I did that for years back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I got made fun of for rollerblading a lot in my 20s.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I would just take it. You know what's funny is I
didn't care. I didn't care.
Every person that ever made fun of me on while I was rollerblading, like if they were a skateboarder, they couldn't do anywhere near the level of tricks that my friends and I could do. Like they'd be making fun of us when they couldn't even ollie over a 2-stair. Meanwhile, we'd be like grinding rails and things like that and be like, you're making fun of us.
I loved rollerblading. When I was in college, I used to rollerblade to class. That was how instead of having a bike, because my bike kept getting stolen. So I just rollerbladed to class all the time. And I would get there so fast.
Yeah.
I would get there so fast because you could just go anywhere.
It's a great feeling, like floating and gliding and things. And I think that's kind of what led me later in life to why I became a slackliner, is I like that feeling of just an individual sport where I don't need other people to play it and I can just go do it and progress on my own.
Yeah, that was going to be the next things, because the first things I ever saw with you and your dog was the slacklining, because I didn't know you had a dog. For the background story, I met Alex doing roast battle, and you were just honestly super kind to me, and then I ran into you at other shows, and you were just super cool and kind and normal. Like, I use that word normal not often to describe comedians. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I try to live just a very fun, loving lifestyle, which is funny because what most people know me for is roasting. So if you don't know me, like, you know me, so you know that I'm just I'm just being a silly asshole whenever I want. But there's a lot.
Yeah, I knew you before roast battle was a thing. I knew you before that. I had met you just at shows.
And there's certain people though who, if you don't know me personally, you don't know about the silly part, and you just think I'm an asshole, and you think I'm out there just to cause trouble and destruction. And I'm like, no.
Is that hard?
I mean, I like it. It's the dichotomy of because if you really know me, you understand that I can just turn on the mean whenever I want to, but I only do it in situations when it's called for.
You're a true like performer, like a showman. I really appreciate the effort you put into like putting on a fucking show. And like a lot of people don't do that. I hardly do that. I'm the boring guy who just stands up there and talks. But that's why, like, that's why people gravitate to you. That's why you've had the success that you've had. And that's how you are. Like, like you said, you could turn it on and off. So when I'm talking to you, I know you're not the character I just saw on stage, but I know the character that you're doing on stage is still you. That's still part of you. So. You're not. Yeah, you're not up there being an actor. You just have like it's showtime, and then it's fucking Alex Hooper time. Yeah. And I love that.
It's always a really hard question to ask when somebody's like, well, so what's their style of comedy? What do you do? But I mean, the easiest answer I've ever come up with is it's just a hyperbolized version of myself and stories from my own life. Everything is based in reality, and then I stretch it to a point where it becomes a work of fiction almost, Yeah. And I think
that's what I say. I lean into it. I lean into the personality.
Yeah, very much so. That's what you have to do is like, and there's room for everybody. Like, not everyone has to put on an elaborate, shiny costume and go out there and do some character work when they're doing a roast. But for me, it kind of separates myself being just like, hey, a white guy, average white guy with a mustache being an asshole to people could be a little harsh. Whereas if I put on, a tail and a sequin romper, all of a sudden people are like, well, there's no way this guy's serious, right? And so it separates myself from the roasting stuff so that people do know, like, this is just for fun. This is a joke. We're just being silly.
Yeah, I think that you also opened it up for other people to get creative with how they roasted, or other styles of roasting, or at least experimenting with other things, because you were the first one to do it, even to the point where people were like mad at you. Like, I can't, we're here to roast Alex Hooper and he's wearing a tail. And I'm like, yeah, well, now it's like the new normal. You set a precedent and now they'll never go back, but you can always say you were one of the originators. And I think that's because you didn't do that on purpose. You just thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it would be really funny.
Yeah.
and like you said, putting on a show. And if you look at all the old Comedy Central roasts and stuff like that, Jeff Ross would always be dressed up in some kind of crazy
He would have a
outfit.
costume. Yeah, he'd have a weird costume.
He would be either like the Roastmaster General, or he dressed up like Prince, or he did those cornrows that one time. Like, he does all kinds of different stuff to kind of play with whatever the roast calls for. And I just figured I'm going to do the same. And also, it also gives people an opportunity, though, where it's like, I'm giving you all the ammunition to hit me as hard as you can. Like, I'm giving you all the chips. They're on the table.
You're very roastable.
Of course. And that's how I see it, is just like, I feel like I'm giving you more to play with. If I'm wearing a rainbow unitard that is completely form-fitting and I look like...
Yeah, there's a couple of things that they could say. Yeah, there's a couple funny jokes in there.
Immediately. And so to me, like, I don't care about being the butt of the joke or anything like that. I'm like, no, lean in. I don't know how you feel about this, but I used to really get kind of offended when somebody would say a really mean joke about me, like the first few times I did it. And then I began to embrace the different ways that people see me as they look at me and go, oh, you look like Two-Face if he only had face. Oh, you look like the California Raisins if he died of a heroin addiction. Oh, you look like, and they would just keep going, a meth labradoodle. Like, they would just keep coming and coming and coming, that I just learned to embrace who I was. And it made me okay with what I look like when I spent years hating myself.
Absolutely, man. Because I went from doing roast battle in LA, I moved back to Indiana. And I was doing as much stand-up as I could, but I was teaching high school, and high school kids are fucking ruthless. It was in a ghetto high school too, in Gary, Indiana, a charter school, one of the worst schools in the country. So these kids were ruthless, but because of roast battle, it didn't hurt me at all. And then I was able to really teach and help these kids. And regardless, they didn't learn shit. They didn't want to learn shit, but I was able to relate to them like a movie, like fucking Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, because of roast battle. Like, I wasn't a Marine. I had never killed anybody, but my ego had been killed many times during roast battle. So I'm immune to insults now. But in the beginning of roast battle, I did get why do you got to make fun of it? Like, I would get mad at people for having a bunch of Mexican jokes, or a bunch of bald jokes, or a bunch of skinny jokes. Cause I'd be like, you're like, you could take 1 or 2 shots to the head, but after 4 or 5, you're like, damn, it's starting to hurt me a little bit. And then, but then after you do so many, it's like, okay, everybody's going to have a dog fucking joke. Everybody's going to have a fucking skinny Mexican joke. So you just it's not that big a deal. And then you look around, and it's like everybody has something you can roast them on. Yeah. So it's all equal. It's all equal playing field.
Oh, I would have loved to see that, because you know what? They probably look at you like, dude, we got this little bitch, dude, whatever. He's the teacher, but we're 17. We don't care. And then they don't know that secretly it's like, you don't even realize I could destroy
And the other kids pick up on it, and then they want to encourage it. And if you're not a good classroom manager, then the class takes control. But if you could just, it's like in the movie, if you could just get that one asshole to shut up for a moment and listen, then you can convince them of shit, because you're an adult and they're a child. And that's just the reality. Like, if you can't talk to a child for 10 minutes and convince them that you can help them, then you're not that mature. You're not that much of an adult. You're kind of in the same position they are. But in these situations, the kids would say all kinds of shit to me about, like, what would they make fun of me about? That I'm not a real teacher because it's at a charter school. Do you know what I mean? Sure. And I'll be like, all right, but I have a degree and you're going to a charter school. So it's like, you gotta, like, there are levels to this. And the thing that would squash them was my quick logic, right? And it's just like, and it's a comeback, right? But to them, it's not a joke. It's not a rebuttal. They're not going to laugh because they don't know if I'm joking or not. But I am joking. I'm just trying to get them to shut up for a moment. And it is the attention getter, right? That quick comeback, that quick rebuttal. Well, for a moment, the student realizes that you can play this game too, that you're quick, you're smart, your comebacks make sense, and they're funny. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, they did not see that coming. They did not see the ability for me to take it and dish it out. Like, not only do their insults not even faze me for a second, I don't even blink, but I have a better insult right behind it that's gonna hurt your feelings because you're not an adult and you don't have emotional intelligence yet.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've had moments in public where I've had to hold myself back because for some reason somebody's being a smartass and they say something to me about me or whatever, and I can go and I think of something right away where I'm like, oh, and then I have to be like, I don't know this person. I don't know what their fragility levels are. I might say this to them and they would have never heard it in their life. And I might send them down a path of just like where they just look at themselves differently. And I literally have to be just, as hard as it is to be the bigger person sometimes, I have to remember that, like, just because I can shoot this 3 right now or I can slam dunk right in your face, it doesn't mean I have to. And instead I'll just pass the ball.
No, and I hope I made it clear. It was only for the worst kids, the kids that were like, really, if you don't put them in their place, you're not gonna get a second chance. But like in normal everyday life, like I don't go around roasting the lady that cut me off in traffic or the fucking guy who's standing too close to me at the grocery store, not doing social distancing. Like, I'm not gonna roast random people, but like in my family, like my family knows me as a roaster now. So every time they try to roast me and they want me to roast them back, but I don't, because I know I might hurt their feelings. I never roast my brothers. I never roast my sisters. Even when they try to roast me and they'll start poking, come on, roast battler, you don't got a better comeback than that. And I'm like, because you're going to fucking cry. And you're going to never forgive me. So I'm not going to say it.
People think they want it and then you give it to them and then they realize they really don't.
They don't want it.
I had a guy one time, and this comes with the territory, right? Is because I've been, I've been on part of the roast battle, and then I went on America's Got Talent and I roasted there. And so people, they know me as that. And I had a guy a couple of years ago when I was on the road in Lake Tahoe, and he was like, hey, and he started making fun of me, and I was like, yeah, okay, dude. And he just goes, what, you're not going to do anything back? The great roaster can't roast? Is that what I'm seeing?
That
and
type
I was
of
like,
shit.
no. I was like, I don't want to play this game with you. He's like, oh, because I'm not good enough for you. I'm not on your level, so you can't play this game. And then I don't remember exactly what I said. I remember it was something about his teeth. It was something to the tune. I was like, okay, dude, if you really want this, but honestly, I don't even want to play this game with you because I can't stop staring at the gap in your teeth where it looks like your dick would fit or something like that.
Yeah.
And he goes, he looked at me and he got really upset, and I was like, are you okay? He goes, why'd you say that to me? And I was like, I begged you to not do this. I begged you. I told you, please, I don't want to do this with you. He's like, I just don't understand why you had to say something like that. I was like, I can't. I was like, I need you to go away. I can't do this with you. And then he was like, can I just say something? I was like, no, walk away. This isn't going well. And then he came back 2 minutes later, and I was like, dude, I told you I can't talk to you. And he just goes, I just wanted to tell you, I think you do a pretty cool job when you do that stuff. And I was like, thank you very much. Conversation over.
This is awkward. I gotta go.
Yeah, like I told him flat out, I was like, you don't know what you're asking for right now.
You know who never does that to you? I bet comedians don't do that to you. I bet other comics don't do that. Yeah.
But it has taken me years to develop thick enough skin where if somebody says a joke about me, I laugh and it's over, even if it's in the most public setting, even if millions of people are going to see it. I don't give a shit. Say whatever you want. But a normal person on the street isn't ready to hear those things about themselves. They're not used to it.
They're not. And then you're going to accidentally hit on the one thing he's sensitive about, like the gap in his teeth, you know?
Yep, 100%. Like, I can't remember exactly.
But that's your roast battle killer instinct. You probably like found, your little radar goes off. You don't even realize it. Like, what's this guy probably really sensitive on? Let me get him in the teeth.
Yeah, and that's
the thing I think I did to those kids. Like, just by habit, just by reflex, I would get them with something that would touch home. Like, oh, I better stop. And I'm telling you, it only happened it's like the shot caller. It didn't take much for me to get these kids to understand that I'm not like your other teachers. Like, not. I'm sorry. Like, I know you probably hear that a lot, but this is real. Like, I'm not like your other fucking lame teachers. Just give me a chance. And then it was different. But I never really wanted to teach high school. I like working with animals. So that's it. I don't want to go back to teaching high school. It was cool. I had my little Michelle Pfeiffer moment, but I don't want to go back to that. It was pretty terrible.
No,
the public education system in this country is fucking awful.
In a way, you are teaching animals, the worst kind, because you're not allowed to put them in a cage.
Yeah. No, I considered it nothing more like when I was teaching real little kids, kindergarten. Like, if you would just train them like dog trainers train dogs, it would work. It would work, man.
Crate train them.
It would work. I know it would be awful, but it would work.
Yeah, I mean, we give kids gold stars. Why not just give them a little treat? You know?
Man, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, always.
So I was going to ask you about two things. So after you were on the America's Got Talent and you roasted the shit out of them and it was awesome and it went viral. What about when you got off the stage? Were they like cool? Was Tyra Banks mad at you?
I didn't talk to any of them.
They were mad?
Oh my God. They were furious. And my producer was like, hey, that was great. I was like, my head was spinning a million miles an hour. I didn't know what the hell. I was trying to process the fact that I had just been on stage for 7 minutes being violently screamed at by 3,000 people who hated my guts. I mean, like, I tell people that, like, a friend of mine was asking about Zoom shows the other day. She was like, why is it like, is it still like the same as stand-up? And I was like, no, the stakes are gone.
Not at all.
The stakes are gone. Like, people are like, anyone that's like, I love doing Zoom shows. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then honestly, if you like it more than regular stand-up, you're just a pussy. Because there's no fucking stakes. I can't explain to somebody what it's like for 3,000 people to hate you so much at the same time. And I can see all of their faces and I can hear their voices. And literally they are screaming at me. Like, that is a feeling that very few people are ever going to know.
No.
And so more so, like, it was just it was a matter of me trying to wrap my head around what just happened and trying to not cry, to be honest with you.
I bet. I'm sure there's a lot of nerves. You're like, your nerves are going haywire.
Yeah, it's more so you're just so overcome with emotion, and there's so much negativity inside of you that you didn't put there. Like, other people put it there, and it doesn't just bounce right off and go away. Like, a lot of that, when it's coming at you with so much at a time, it's impossible to not have some of it seep in.
Sure.
So I never.
But you didn't know, like, as you were on stage and after it was right over, were you aware right away that it went well for you?
Fuck no.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I bet not.
If you were in that room, Albert, like, everyone in that room was like, that was probably the worst bomb I've ever seen.
But I thought maybe you went out there like expecting them to boo you. No?
Maybe, like, not so much expecting them to boo me, but like I was ready for like a not
because you went hard, dude. You went hard, and it was great. It was brilliant. Go ahead.
But no matter how much I kind of like was like, okay, this might not go well, when it actually starts, I didn't expect them to be so viscerally angry at me.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't think about like all the lights are on in this theater, so I can see everyone's face and I can see how angry they are. And then I had
it wasn't just careful editing. They were really pissed at you.
Oh, 100%. They toned down how pissed they were at me in the edit, which is why when it actually aired, I was so scared about what it was going to look like and how they were going to present it. And thank God the producing team respected what I did and made it so that when you see it, it really does look like I am staring in the face of these people going,
it looks like
I
a
don't
show.
care. You can't hurt me, which was my mentality. But what was
but without
happening,
the editing, it wouldn't have come off the same.
No, because they that crowd was so loud at one point that I literally couldn't speak, and the judges had to ask the audience to calm down so that I could actually finish and get off the stage.
Trying to find the best way to do this because anyway,
it's all good.
That just sounds like, I don't know, just from watching it, I was like in my bed in Indiana, and I'm like, my wife always wonders why I watch like roasts. She's like, why do you watch those? She's like, you just like watching people insult each other? And I was like, not really. I like watching the structure, right? I like watching how people put jokes together. So when I was watching you and then you started roasting them, I was like, holy shit, they're gonna pull him off the stage because they hated you so much. I was like, they're gonna pull him off. And then you kept going. And then I was laughing so hard. They weren't, but I was, at your jokes, at how the jokes were just perfect. Great fucking jokes. And I was like, damn. Man. And then I was like, damn, he's killing it. That's why they're leaving him up there. Some producer, somebody up there is like, no, this is gold. Let it keep going. Let it keep going. Somebody appreciated it. Somebody out there was like, let it go. And then when the way they edited it, intentionally or not, made you look amazing, dude. They just made you look fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I was so relieved. My friends wanted to have like a watch party, and I said no. And I am like, and I'm normally like, whatever happens, it's cool. But I was like, I don't want to have like 10 people over at my house. And then literally it's a clip of them going, are you ready to see the worst comedian of all time? This guy thought he was a big shot, but he came to our territory. And I was like, I don't know what they're going to do. And then I watched it and I was like, I was so relieved in the way they edited it. And then it, when it hit the internet, then suddenly where I thought everybody hated my guts, everybody was on my side. And it suddenly, where the internet normally brings you, normally you do something you're really proud of, it goes online and then it just gets trashed repeatedly. And you're like, great, I guess I'll never do anything good again. Instead, I thought I had the worst performance of my life, and then it gets the internet. People are like, this man is a legend. No one would ever go on stage and do this. He's a real life troll. And it suddenly made me realize that I did what I set out to do, which was stand my ground and not show weakness.
How did you audition? You auditioned with roast jokes?
Yeah, well, I auditioned pretty much with what you saw. They saw me. They wanted a roaster, so they came to roast battle, and I was trying to convince the producer. I was like, "Look, you're watching this show. I don't know why you think this is right for America's Got Talent, which is for 80-year-olds and 10-year-olds. Like, this is not the audience for you." And she's like, well, we really want to do it, so tell me what you want to do. And I had already done that character on Comedy Central. So I sent them that, and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Take it or leave it. But that's how I want to go on your stage. And they were all about like the presentation of it and the silliness, it's really a court jester approach to it.
Right, it is, you're right.
Yeah, it's very much like where no one's allowed to say anything about these people except this one guy, as long as he assumes the role of the fool. If he can be the fool and take this hit, then he can go out there and do this. And that's why I think why it did so well when it hit the internet, is because it was it sparked controversy. It made people that would never watch that show start paying attention to that show. And then it kind of gave me carte blanche to be like, okay, I can do whatever the fuck I want from now on. Like, I've kind of stood my ground and said, hey, if I want to be a weirdo that goes on stage with a tail and roast celebrities, then so be it. And I'm very thankful to them. I'm actually back this season.
Shit.
So I can't say anything more other than when does this come out? I think it's going to air.
It'll come out. This will come out in like a month.
Oh, okay, cool. So actually, then people will have already seen some of it, or at least it will be on the internet and things like that.
Yeah, for the record, today is July 3rd. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. July 3rd, like it's 12 p.m. right now.
Yeah, how are you not celebrating the 4th of July this year?
Shit, I don't know. Standing on my porch and watching people light them off illegally somewhere in Inglewood.
Yeah, there you go. People like the amount of amazing professional fireworks people get their hands on is pretty incredible.
It's fucking amazing, dude. There's somebody who lives maybe a mile away, 2 miles away, and they have the most amazing fireworks every night of June. And my dogs hate them and we hate them, but it's pretty. Course. It's the most beautiful, annoying thing. But you get over it every night. There they go again. And you get a giant boom, boom, and it's like, Jesus, where do you get those? Are you driving to Tijuana every day? How is this possible?
That's what I'm in the middle of West Hollywood, and we have it here every night. And I'm just like, who is doing this? Where are you
that excited?
Them?
Are you that patriotic? Jesus, everybody in your family died in some war?
I guess
lived through one. They're all alive, lighting off fireworks at the same time.
That's the way we got to celebrate. We're Americans. Just shoot them up in the air. So, but you know what's funny is because we can't have any actual firework displays this year, I heard on NPR yesterday that they are expecting firework accidents to go way up this year.
That makes sense. People are going to try to DIY their firework shows.
100%. Yep. They're
Bunch of fucking idiots out there. There's going to be a lot of people with 3 or 4 fingers.
Yeah. Oh
after
my God.
Quarantine.
You know what I didn't even think about that they said, like, because I always think about like it going off too soon. They said one of the biggest problems is that the wick actually goes too slow, and then people are like, "What's going on?" And they walk up to check it, and then as soon as they go to check it, it just boom and explodes on them
like a fucking cartoon character. Like, how dumb are people?
Yeah, no, it's they're so dumb. They are so. I mean, you can't even tell people to wear a mask. You know, they're so people are so dumb that they're just literally. They just do not care about their own life, which honestly, I'm a Darwin guy. I'm survival of the fittest. I
was about to say something similar. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that, like, if you die in a really stupid way or something that is completely your fault, then good riddance, so be it. I'm sorry to see you go, but also I'm not.
Yeah, man, it's just hard now. This is always a common topic. Like, as I get older, I realize how dumb everybody is. It's like, oh my God, I thought adults were just smart. They're not. I was literally, like, I don't think I've gotten any smarter since I was like 18. Do you know what I mean? I've learned shit, but I'm not smarter. So now that I'm the same, now I'm like looking at other adults like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. That's why your life sucks. And you try to convince other people that life sucks. No, life doesn't suck. You suck.
I would say I'm not necessarily smarter, but I am wiser. Like, I can look at a situation and go, I know that's not a good idea for me to put myself in. You just get more cautious. You get a little bit more careful. You learn what's worth your time. So even though I don't think I've retained nearly as many facts. Like when I was 18, I could spit off like all kinds of historical quotations and all kinds of other stuff. Most of that stuff has gone away. However, situationally, I am much wiser and much more akin to do the right thing.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know how to teach a kid. Like, I can do well in a job because I know how to talk to people, and that's just through experience. I have met a lot of fucking people. I've dealt with a lot of situations. I've solved a lot of problems. So I have background in a lot of different fields. But as far as like, you know, actually being smarter, like learning new things, not really. I find like cheat ways to do stuff. Like I definitely always find the easiest way to accomplish a goal. Like I definitely look for shortcuts.
Why would you go with a hard way?
Yeah, no, like a shortcut is just like that's for the people who are looking for it. Like you really want to do this the hardest way possible or the easiest way possible and get the same result. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to cut corners. I don't believe in cutting corners. Like I believe if you cut corners and skip steps, you're never going to be the best. But that doesn't mean you have to work as hard as everybody else. There is such thing as work smarter, not harder.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I think you learn that more and more as time goes on. Every once in a while, because I do feel like I keep myself in really good health and I really try to keep myself in shape. And every once in a while though, I do have a moment of like yesterday when I fell on my slack line. And when I say I fell, I really I leveled myself out in midair and landed flat on my back and my head on the ground, from probably about 4 feet up. So my body literally just it was straight up and then I tilted a little bit too much and it flattened itself out and just dropped to the ground.
Wow.
And, a few years ago, maybe that wouldn't have hurt so bad. Today, when that happened, it shook me. My lower back, I feel something in it now. And that's that moment where I go, oh yeah, I guess I am almost 35. And at some point, those things aren't just going to be get up and keep running. That is
no, man.
You really gotta listen to myself more than I used to.
No, man, I'm 36 and it's really, really you gotta take care of your body, or if you fall down, you're gonna be crippled. You gotta take care of your body so that when you do fall, your body doesn't fall apart like Humpty Dumpty. You gotta...
Yeah.
That's the only thing. You don't have to work out to look better or to, feel like you have some false sense of confidence. It's just a matter of your body not falling apart when something bad happens. Coronavirus comes around, if you're healthy, you'll be all right. If you're healthy, you fall down and you're healthy, you're not going to break your back. But I have the same issue. I got to work out just so I don't hurt myself accidentally. I don't really give a shit.
I'm so glad that I do. In that moment yesterday, I was if I didn't take care of myself and something like this happened, this would really fucking hurt. And this
because you've been doing yoga and slacklining for how long now? Where did slacklining come from? Because we're about to wrap up in about a half hour, and I feel like I could talk to you all day. So where did slacklining come from?
I was at a music festival a few years ago, back in late 2016, and I saw people doing it, and I'd kind of seen it before, but not really, but I never gotten a chance to try it.
For people that don't know what it is, describe it for us, please.
Okay, so it's essentially like tightrope walking, except instead the rope is loose and bouncy and it moves more. So instead of you just walking on something that is staying still, you flow with this line as it walks, and it's a 1 inch tightrope that you're walking across.
Right. That's how I would describe it, like a tightrope that's I don't know, maybe how far off the ground.
You can put it wherever. If I'm teaching someone, I'll have it a foot high when I play on it, usually 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, it seems like 4 or 5 feet when you're doing it.
When it's at its peak, and then when I'm in the middle of it, it will be down to 1.5 feet.
Right, then it sags down.
Stretch.
Right.
But people do this over mountains, between buildings, all kinds of stuff like that. I've tried to do it once between 2 mountains. I was about 75 feet off the ground. I was wearing a harness and a leash, and it was very difficult, very scary. I didn't make it across, but I tried.
Oh my God, dude! My heart is beating very fast just thinking about that. 75 feet off the ground, you are out of your mind.
It was and you're holding on to literally a 1 inch piece of webbing, trying to get yourself. You have to edge yourself out sitting on it, and then lean forward on your and lay down on it to get your foot up, and then try to stand from there. And the whole time the thing is just shaking as violently as possible because you're shaking. So anyway, basically that's where I saw people doing this thing. I really wanted to be able to do it. Couldn't. Then a few months later, I'd been thinking about it, and my friend bought one, and he started doing it. And he's a bigger guy than me, and I know I'm more athletic than him. There's a million things this man is better than me at. But athleticism, I knew I had it. So I was like, okay, if he's doing this, I know if I just practice, I can do it too.
That's like when people go to an open mic and they see a bunch of shitty comics. They're like, I could do that.
100%, Albert. That's how I started comedy. I went to the Comedy Store to a bringer show, and I didn't know it was a bringer show, and I watched a lot of people, over 20 comics,
Jesus,
eat it. And I was just going this is who performs at the Comedy Store? I have to be funnier than this. And that was when I decided I was going to start comedy.
So you weren't wrong.
Be inspired by people who are terrible at something but are succeeding.
Yeah. That's what Pat Barker said too. I was like, how did you get into comedy? He's like, I saw somebody suck. And I was like, I could do better than that.
Right, 100%. Look at the worst baseball player in the major leagues. That guy made it, right? Like whatever.
That's what I tell my students. Like, there are stupid doctors out there. You know what they call the dumbest? Do you know what they call the dumbest kid who graduates medical school?
A dentist?
Doctor. They call him doctor. Still, doctor.
Still, yeah.
They're still a doctor.
No matter what, you're still a doctor. But yeah, and then, I fell in love with the meditation of it and also the progress of it. Because the more I did it, the more I could walk further and further distances, the longer I could stay on there, the more turns I could do, the more bounces I could do. And it became a thing where it's like, I don't need anyone to go do this. And if I want to do it, I have to be outside. I have to go outside. I got to soak up the sun. I got to go to the beach or the park and be around nature and people. And it just became this thing that my brain craved because it's slowing me down and calming me, and I could feel myself getting stronger at the same time.
Yeah, I bet your whole core, all your shit.
Oh yeah, everything. Muscles I never even knew existed.
Yeah, like a skater, like a any kind of skate. You're using your whole body for balance and shit. All your stabilizing muscles, all that.
Yeah, 100%. And then the other thing that kind of did is it made me feel really good about myself because it's not like, it's such a weird activity that if people see you doing it and you're good at it, they're like amazed by it. They're, especially more and more as time goes on, it's becoming more of a thing that people know about. But even still, there's people that like will just watch me in the park or whatever as I'm just like dancing around up there, and they'll come up to me like, this is like incredible. And then a part of me goes like, oh, I'm impressing somebody.
You're like Cirque du Soleil for some people.
Yeah, and that felt cool at the same time where this is a weird activity. It feels very California for me to have gotten into it, but it just, it calms my head and it strengthens my body and makes me feel good, and it's super fucking fun. I it's one of those things where I can't imagine myself not doing it in some capacity. I always wanted to like walk between mountains after a year of doing it, I was like, I want to be able to do that. It's not as much in my cards anymore because I realized how much time and effort it would take to really get there. And I have a career that takes a ton of time and effort. Yeah. And I'm not willing to throw that one away to
not yet.
Not yet. Let me destroy it on my own and get canceled, and then I'll become a full-time slackliner.
There you go. Well, you never know. Maybe you'll be the slacklining comedian one day. That could be a thing.
I think. Well,
can you tell jokes while you're up there?
I did it at the Improv one night. We set it up. We set it up in the courtyard at the Improv for one of Michael Glazer's shows. He has a show called Glazed, and they do like some kind. And it's kind of a weird variety show. And he asked me, he's like, "Would you set up your slackline in the courtyard at the Improv, and while everyone waits to go in, you slackline and perform for them?" So I did like a 7-minute set while on the slackline for like 60 people.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I think I'm the only person to ever do stand-up comedy on a slackline.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You're like the first to do a lot of shit.
What it is here's what it is, Albert, is I take passions I have and I combine them. I'm like, a lot of people dance and a lot of people go to comedy shows. Not a lot of people go to comedy dance shows. Right. A lot of people love pugs. A lot of people like yoga. Nobody out there is really doing pug yoga and making a thing of it. And that's kind of always been my thing, is like, how can I combine multiple interests into one and then they become a thing that nobody has ever seen before?
Yeah, man, that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. Pets and comedians. Pets and comedians.
Damn straight,
man.
That's
exactly. I was like, what do I know? Comedy and animals. What do people love? Comedy and animals. Let's bring them together.
and that's how you find your angle and your audience. That's why people
I'm always blown away when people listen to this podcast. I look at the episode numbers start climbing and I'm like, who is listening to me talk shit? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Because I remember, like, I'm just telling you, I always repeat the story. I went from getting like 30 listens, to 40 maybe on a best episode. Now I'll get like hundreds in a day. And it's like, how, and it's not thousands, I'm not like Earl Skakel level, but it went from nothing to something like overnight. And it's like, how the hell did that happen? And then people love it. Like you said, now people, like, if I don't post one, people are like, why aren't you posting episodes? It's like, oh shit, I'll get right back on it. So it's just like you start impressing people with doing something that in your mind was just like another hobby, just another thing to add to your repertoire, another skill to learn. I wanted to learn how to edit. I wanted to learn how to broadcast. I just wanted to know if it could help my comedy. I just wanted to get booked on shows, like that's it. I didn't really think of the podcast animal part being the popular part. I thought people would want to more hear comedians just talk shit, but no, people want to.
That speaks to exactly what you're doing right, though, is that like you just did what made you happy. You talked about things that you enjoyed and you found a way to have a platform to talk about these things. And then the audience will slowly cultivate on its own as you just keep doing the thing. And it just goes to show, don't compromise. Don't do what you think other people want you to do. Just be yourself and let the people find you that are going to fuck with you.
They will come.
Yeah, damn straight. And I mean, I've been building it for 11 years of doing stand up and trying to find what works for me and what people will relate to. And
that's what I love about you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean,
that no matter how much success you've had, that you try something new. You're trying something new. Try something new.
I think being scared is a very important thing in life. And that's why I was willing, when I told people I was going to try to highline and walk between two mountains, they thought I was fucking nuts. I mean, if you tell a normal person you're going to try to walk on a 1-inch piece of webbing 140 feet across a canyon, they're going to say, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I'm going to say, well, I'm watching these people do it and they're not dying. So at the very worst, I'm going to be really fucking scared and I'm going to shit myself. And then I'll clean up and put on another pair of pants and continue on with my life.
And you'll be better off for it.
And to be honest, the day I did that, this was back in October when I tried to do it. The day I went out there with these people and I tried to do it, it kind of changed my life in a way because I realized that if I'm doing this, I shouldn't be scared of anything. Same with America's Got Talent. If I can get booed by 3,000 people, that's a feeling that I will take with me and I will remember for the rest of my life. And if I can handle that, which most people would say would be the most crushing thing that they've ever experienced, then why can't I try to walk on a 1-inch piece of webbing? Why can't I become a huge comedian selling out theaters? Why can't I put on a stupid, shiny outfit that just looks ridiculous, but still get people to listen to me, And I used to be really afraid of being myself. And then the more I leaned into it, like we said, the more I just started being happier. And then all of a sudden people saw something in me that changed and they wanted to be a part of it. And that's how I started growing a fan base. And that's, and that's where the pugs come in too, is the pugs became a part of my comedy and a part of my life and something I would share. And so, I'm grabbing people from different communities and pulling them in towards me, so that, somebody might be at the show because they met me slacklining. Somebody else might hear because they like pugs, and somebody else might just be a comedy fan. Somebody else I might have met at a festival. But either way, I'm bringing all these people together because we're all somewhere on the same wavelength.
Hell yeah, dude, building a community. So let's take our break right now because I'm going to go to the bathroom and then we got about another 30 minutes, all right? So we're going to take our break. We'll get back to building a community, building your own niche. I'll be back in like 5 minutes, all right?
Get it.
What's up, Pet Peeves podcast listeners? If you or someone you know has a cat and you notice this cat drinking from the bathroom sink or from the bathtub, it's because cats prefer cold, fresh, flowing water. Most people leave a bowl of water on the floor all day and cats don't like to drink it. This causes a lot of cats to develop kidney diseases later in their life. We'd like to recommend a plug-in automatic water fountain to our listeners. The URPower pet fountain is perfect for cats or dogs. It has a centralized fountain, which is great because we had one where it was on the side and my cat and dog would make a big mess. The sound of the water flowing will attract them to the fountain and they can drink fresh, flowing water all day. It does come with a filter that needs to be cleaned and changed from time to time, similar to a Brita water filter. Use our Amazon affiliate link in the description to purchase the URPower Pet Fountain, and you will help support the Pet Peeves podcast. I recommend this for any pet owner out there who wants to prevent kidney failure and kidney problems in their cat or dog, and for people who just want to get their cats out of the sink and out of the bathtub. Use the Amazon affiliate link in the description and help the Pet Peeves podcast grow. Thank you guys, and let's get back to the episode. I have a audio engineer. Let's give a shout out to Michael Beagley. He's my audio engineer. He lives in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium.
Wow,
and,
Michael,
I met him,
what's up, dude?
Yeah, what's up, Michael? He's the shit, man. He's the shit. So, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. And we should leave this in the recording, Michael. Don't edit it out. He never wants me to like thank him on the recording.
Yeah, Michael, take the praise, my man. Come on, eat a waffle.
Shout out to Hammer Street Studios.
Yeah,
there you go.
Hammer Street.
All right.
I used to live on Hammer Street.
There you go, Michael. There's a sign.
Yeah, straight up.
Fuck yeah. All right. So, we were talking about building a community of followers just by being yourself. And that's the thing. Like, we can be motivational speakers all day. I feel like comedians are like born for that. Like, you can really be yourself and get everything you ever wanted out of being yourself. Not that you're going to be rich or be famous, but you'll definitely build confidence. You'll definitely have real relationships, real friends. You won't have to worry about people taking advantage of you. You won't have to worry about people liking you for something you're not. Because that's the shit that really debilitates people. That you create this false ego, this false personality, false sense of identity, and then you build friends on that, and then you build relationships on that, and then you wonder why they fall apart. It's because it's all fickle, it's all fake. But honestly, like nothing, I don't know. I guess because I only hang out with comedians, it's just like a great equalizer, like an ego killer. That's what Steve Martin said. It's the ego's last stand-up comedy.
See, I don't hang out with a ton of comedians. Like back, obviously, when before COVID happened, I was going out to clubs every night and hanging out with my friends. But my actual main group that I hang out with, none of them are comedians.
Let me be clear. I don't hang out with anybody but my wife anymore. But my few people that I call are friends, they are comedians, but we don't just hang out. I don't go to their houses. They don't come to mine. We don't go to the movies together, but we go do shows together. We meet up to do mics together. We meet up to do podcasts and shit. But, so those are my core group of friends, but they're my comic friends, like your work friends. You know what I mean?
Right. I have those too, but I keep myself in check, and I have a whole other group of people that has nothing to do with comedy. So they keep me grounded to a level where I don't just think only about my own career and myself and how and things like that. Because it's kind of impossible not to. I mean, we're in an industry that requires you to think about yourself nonstop.
Yeah, self-promoting, self-advertising, selling yourself, selling your ideas. That's a big part of being a comic. But, I think that's why I got married, man. Because as soon as roast battles started doing well for me, I started becoming more depressed. Like it was just something weird happened when because people started treating me differently. Like when I first came to LA, nobody really talked to me. And then I started winning roast battles. Then suddenly people want to talk to me. And you weren't one of those people. You were always fucking cool to me. You were always nice to me. You always talked to me, not just answered my questions. No, we would stand and talk. And not everybody was like that. So people started talking to me and I didn't know how to take it. I was already a little bit older. I was already 33. So I was already aware that that's not normal, that one day you don't even make eye contact with me and the next day you act like we're best friends. So then that started affecting me. And then I started dating and so I have this big ego. I'm winning roast battles. So I'm dating girls that I probably normally wouldn't have or probably wouldn't be normally interested in me. But I was bringing them to roast battles at the Comedy Store and I was winning main events. So these girls that probably wouldn't have been interested in me suddenly were for the wrong reasons, So then it's just I felt really alone. I felt more alone having success in comedy than I ever did without success. But now
I wouldn't say it was necessarily for the wrong reasons. They were impressed by you, and they were impressed. They saw that you had confidence, and they saw that you could stand on a stage at a very famous club and hold your own. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's for the wrong reasons, but because then you have to give them the chance to actually get to know you. Let them be impressed, and then let them in a little bit more, and then you can decide whether or not
you could go that route. I feel like it's a very LA way to look at a relationship. I've known my wife for 15 years now. She knew me before, but she knew when she met me, I had just started doing stand-up the same year. So she filmed the first film video I have of me doing comedy in 2005. She was holding the camera. Damn. So that's how far her and I go back. We go back really far. So now, if I ever do make it as a comic or whatever, any kind of success I do have, I know that she knows everything about me, the highs, the lows, the middles, the impressive stuff, the unimpressive stuff. But, you know, when you're in LA and you're trying to date and you're not from here and you have a little bit of success, it's different. It's not like dating when you're not trying to be successful on a big level, on a high level where people know who you are and people follow you.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, you know, when you said about like that I talked to you like a person, like I didn't just answer your questions, but I talked, I think what sometimes people forget is that, like, to me, I see another comedian. I'm like, oh, we are like each other in some way. Maybe not, we're not exactly the same, but we're like each other in some way. And all anybody wants to feel is seen and heard. And we're never, no matter what level you ever get to, you're never above talking to somebody like they're a human and that they command respect. And I think that's why, like, I remember being really young in comedy and talking to like people that I was like, you know, these are people I grew up watching on TV and stuff like that. And I always remember the ones that talked to me just as person to person, not like, what do you want, kid, or any of this.
Right.
They didn't make
it's a different tone.
They didn't make me feel less than. They made me feel like I was important and I was part, and I would deserve to be there. So that's kind of always been my mentality, is like, you know, just be kind and show people love and encouragement and let them be the ones to lift you up as well. Because also one day that person that's a year into comedy and is doing an open mic and is asking for your advice, one day they're going to have a TV show and they're going to need people to staff and people to be on it. And I want them to remember that those are the times when it's like, hey, who was really nice to me in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Albert was. He talked to me like a person. Right. So I have a part for him. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, and hopefully it's not intentional, but it's always helped me. Like everywhere I go where I get an opportunity, it's from somebody I just happen to be talking to one day. Like, we're standing next to each other, we start chatting, one thing leads to another, we start doing something together. I like his comedy, they like my comedy, and then bam, they give me an opportunity that I probably never would have gotten if I didn't just start talking to the person that was standing next to me.
Yeah, and you got to just, you know, so much of it is just believing in the path that you're following, because you never know where anything is leading to. I didn't set out my life to be a comic, a roaster or anything like that. The fact that that's what I've become known for, you know, it's ludicrous to me that that's how I would pop off. But I saw something happening and I said yes to opportunities, and then you just keep pushing it until more and more doors open up, and you just don't know where you're going to get to. And
it's like, it's very much destiny. I'm just remembering, you were the first person I ever saw tell roast jokes, and it was at Rock Paper Coffee. That's where I met you, at Rock Paper Coffee. And you just pitched roast jokes when I had never heard of Roast Battle or knew anything about Roast Battle. I never even heard about it. And you and I had maybe met that day. I don't know. But you did the roast jokes and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, that is interesting. And then, you know, lo and behold, like, I had seen you do that, and then much later I was at a show, and much later I was considering doing Roast Battle before I ever did one. And I was like, I can't do that. It's too hard. Like, I can't fucking do that. And then I fucking did it. But if it wasn't for me seeing you do it at Rock Paper, who knows? My life could have taken a whole different turn. Maybe I never would have been interested in it. Maybe would have even never even known about it. I might have never even known about it for for a longer period of time. There was
a big chunk of time where you would go, any open mic you went to, somebody was going to tell roast jokes, right? Because they had a roast battle coming up and it was the biggest show at the time, so they wanted to do well. And a lot of people that didn't do roast battle hated when somebody would come up and do roast jokes. And for me, even though I was part of the community, so I could see the value in it, for me, I was like, wait a minute, at least we're going to listen to this person tell 15 jokes. We're not going to hear them. We're not going to hear them go, so I was driving the other day and I was on my way to this place when this happened. Is this funny? No, we are going to hear you tell a joke. And to me, that was
many
always like,
jokes.
Right. I don't care if I don't know the person, or I don't care if this is a one-time thing that you're never going to use in the future past this moment. At least for this few minutes, we are going to hear what you consider a funny joke is. And I think that's
Do you still do roast battle jokes at an open mic?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I stopped doing it probably a couple years ago. I think the last time I actually told roast jokes at an open mic was right before I did Comedy Central. Because there was a lot more like I need to work these out. At this point, I don't have anything. I feel I don't have anything to lose or gain from the show necessarily. Maybe still gain, but not lose for sure. So I trust myself. And if I really like a joke, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna say it and then hope.
Yeah, I stopped after. Well, Pat Barker gave me the advice that you don't need to do that anymore. If you're already doing like main events, you don't really need to be pitching them at. And I'm not saying that I'm good at roast battle or had any business ever pretending I was good at roast battle.
You are good at roast battle.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But I don't do them at open mics anymore because number one, people don't like it, especially in other cities. Like I was flying out to LA to do roast battle, from Indiana, from Chicago. So I was in Indiana doing roast battle jokes at shows and open mics, and in Chicago doing roast battle jokes. And people were really fucking assholes about it. They're like, why would anybody care about a non-famous person? You guys are over there roasting each other and you guys aren't even famous. Roasting is only funny if everybody knows the person getting roasted. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But they definitely made me feel like it wasn't the place to do it. So I just stopped doing it.
Right, but that's what I don't understand is like at least you are hearing solid punchline.
And I wish I would have had that comeback. I wish I would have had that logical comeback. Like at least I'm telling jokes, because everybody hates the open mic where people are up there just winging it, not telling jokes.
If you have 5 minutes in a set, how many actual punchlines do you think you're going to hear in that open mic?
Two or three.
And the rest of the time is fluff and you trying to figure it out. Whereas at least with a roast joke, you go, I am saying this and it will lead to this. Bam, done. So
absolutely,
they're puzzles.
No, I've done roast battle jokes at a show before and people really liked it. But then I've done roast battle jokes at a show before, people did not.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that might just it depends on the audience. But
I wouldn't do it again. It was definitely I just didn't have a choice. I wasn't getting that much stage time and I was about to roast Pat Barker. You know what I mean? Like I needed to pitch those jokes somewhere.
For sure, yeah, I remember that battle. That was a great one. It
was so much fun, man.
The thing I like about a truly great joke, especially when it's very curtailed and very short and to the point, is it's a puzzle. And we are figuring out these puzzles of, okay, I know this fact about this person and I want to get to here, but how do I do that in the shortest amount of words, in the most concise way possible, the most clear way possible? And when you have one that really, really works, it just feels amazing. Like,
are you still laughing at your own jokes when you're writing them?
Sometimes, if I think of a really like I was writing stuff for America's Got Talent, and every once in a while I would say one and I would read it out loud and I would start laughing. And that can either be a good sign or a bad sign.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't always rely on that.
No, especially sometimes I'm laughing at it because it's so wrong. Like that I was like, wow, they will never let me say this, and if they did, I would be in so much trouble that like I can't help but laugh for that reason. But no, I mean, sometimes, you got to be able to crack yourself up a little bit, not all the time.
Yeah, like if you don't think you're funny, you're probably, who else is going to think you're funny?
Right. And nothing makes you feel less funny than doing stand-up comedy all the time. It's like, anyone who ever says they're like, I think I'm pretty funny, I could do stand-up. I'm like, yeah, go hang out with 10 comedians in a row and see how fast you are then, Yeah, it's true. I was saying that too. The one thing I do like about hanging out with comedians, it does make you funnier because you have to step your game up. Yeah. You have to keep up. You got to be in it, and you got to also know when. You also then learn when it's appropriate, when to turn it off, and when to just be a person.
Yeah,
and not
for sure.
Make the jokes all the time, because I have trouble with that. My fiance's sister called me out on that this past weekend. She was like, "I don't want to tell you because you're gonna about something in my life because I know you're gonna make a joke about it." And I was like, "It was like
you're not wrong.
You're not." And part of me, the combative part of me wanted to go, "No, that's not true," but I was like, "I hear you. You are right. Yeah. That is how I process information, is I do make a joke." So
I had to apologize to my stepson before. I'm like, I'm sorry that I always respond with sarcasm. I have to apologize, but it's just my go-to when I'm angry. I can't yell at you, so I just get sarcastic.
Me too. I think there needs to be a sarcastic font for like Twitter and stuff like that. There needs to be a time when I don't have to explain myself. You just have to know I'm using sarcasm based on an emoji or something like that that tells you, please don't take this seriously.
Don't take it literally.
Yeah, because I mean that's a big problem with Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Is I would say I'm being sarcastic 75% of the time, and 75% of people, if you don't know me, they don't read it that way. So
yeah, for sure.
It's it's a dangerous.
That's just it. When somebody doesn't know you that well, it's like, okay, I have to speak a different language. Hang on for a second. Let me bring up my regular people talk.
But that's what this culture does, right? Is you could learn about something today of someone you've never heard of, and they said something, and you're ready to crucify that person. You're like, all right, I don't know anything about that guy. All I know is I'm seeing one quote that he said, so fuck that guy forever. Right. And you don't know that he is a single dad taking care of 3 kids, working 2 jobs. His dying mother lives in their house with them. You don't know anything about them, and you're taking one thing and deciding that his whole life should be over. We don't take the time to learn about people. We just want to get rid of them when they do
what happened to innocent until proven guilty? That doesn't exist anymore. We crucify people just we read the book by the cover. We just want that snapshot, cover photo, fucking tweet information. Like, well, let me think about it for 48 characters or whatever.
Right. You know what's fun is getting someone is getting someone in trouble immediately. You know what's not fun? A 2-year trial with a jury of 12 and a bunch of lawyers involved.
It's not so much fun.
It's not. Instead, we just want it to be done over. I had influence and I said go away, and now you did. And I just think like I think we're going in a good direction as far as like comedy as a whole and everything else, because I do think like, there's always going to be people that try to be the PC warriors and all that. And there's always going to be people that just say whatever the fuck they want. And somewhere in the middle, we have a functioning society that can work together and everyone can be happy or miserable, whichever way you choose to be.
I feel like that's the John Lennon song, like rewritten, the updated version. Or we won't. That's the last line. Yeah. Or we won't. Or it'll all fall apart. All right, so we got to start wrapping up now. So I have 2 segments. One segment is, do you eat animals? Do you eat meat?
I do.
Yeah, me too. Don't worry about it. So how do you feel? Do you feel like it's ethically wrong or morally wrong?
No, I've watched every Netflix documentary about what we're doing in our body and factory farming and all that. And I always say, I swear to God, if I watch one more of these, I'm going to stop eating meat forever. And it's always the one more. But no, I mean, I grew up eating it. I never knew there was necessarily an issue with it until later. I try to buy, my fiance's really good about getting me to buy pasture raised eggs and organic meat, free range, grass fed, all that kind of stuff. And for the most part, I'm pretty good about it, but I like meat too much to want to go vegetarian. Yeah. So, and
I've tried.
Yeah, I got plenty of friends that are vegan all the way, and they don't like that I eat meat and stuff like that. And for me, I feel healthy. I think it's delicious, and I'm not going to stop anytime soon. So
yeah, my wife and I went vegan for, I think we did like a month or something like that. And it's fine. I like vegan food. I like vegetarian food. It's not that I don't. It's just that I also like meat. And so it's like, and I don't feel wrong eating it, but I do feel like there's a better way to go about it. Like factory farming is shitty, but I still eat packaged meat. And I still eat fucking, steaks from Denny's or wherever the hell I'm at, whatever. I'll just fucking eat it. If it tastes good, I'll eat it.
Now that's a bold choice, a steak from Denny's. I mean, that is...
I'm not proud of it, but desperate times call for desperate measures. They have cheap meals at Denny's.
That's as brave as walking on a 1-inch tightrope 75 feet off the ground. That is just the same.
No, my intestines become the tightrope. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not afraid to eat meat, and I'm not afraid to tell people I eat meat, but I do see that it should be done in an ethical manner. Like it should, like, when you go to other countries, like when I was in South Korea, meat was not their main dish. Their main dish was always the rice or the soup or the vegetables. The meat was always a side dish. It's not like American meals where your meat is your main course. That's why people have all kind of colon cancer and shit. You're not supposed to eat that much red meat. So I think it's just a cultural thing that needs to be changed. But the meat market is huge with their fucking propaganda. What's for dinner? Beef. It's what's for dinner. That shit.
Did you watch that? Did you watch the new Morgan Spurlock documentary? It's the sequel to Super Size Me, where he tries to open a fast food chicken restaurant.
No, is it good?
It's really good because it gives you all the insight into like how controlled everything is by 5 companies across the entire country. That like literally
doesn't surprise me.
99% of all of our chicken comes from 5 companies, and if you try to break through that, they're
probably all owned by Coca-Cola or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's big ones. I mean, but it's essentially that, and they won't let you in. Like, it is a club that you can't get into. So it really,
it's like the Bilderberg or fuckers like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think it's going to become more and more trendy to be vegetarian or vegan? Like, being a meat eater is going to be more frowned upon, like socially?
I think as time goes on, if we don't change the way we're doing it, then definitely. Because now that we're giving all these plant-based options, it is giving you the opportunity to say, I'm not going to eat meat. However, those plant-based options also have a lot of shit in them that is not necessarily,
weird shit.
It's not necessarily natural or healthy for you. So it's really, I just think each person needs to make their own decisions and
it's like drugs. If you do it responsibly, you're going to be fine.
Hey, you are talking to someone who very much believes in that movement.
That's one of the first things that you and I ever talked about, because I offered you like a drink and you're like, I don't drink. And I was like, well, do you smoke weed? And you're like, yeah, I pretty much like every other drug besides that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I'll drink alcohol sometimes. But for the most part, like, I just think it's the lamest one for
I think that's the way you explained it to me. It's like the least fun. It's like the least fun with the highest risk.
And it hurts the most the next day. I don't ever take, like, if I take like a hit of Molly or some shrooms or something like that, I'm fine going forward. I don't wake up the next day like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? Oh, I feel
no one wakes up after doing Molly saying, I'll never do that again. They're always like, I can't wait to do that again.
Yeah. And then Monday hits, they're like, well, maybe
not every day.
But
not every day. Don't do it every day.
I just think whatever.
And don't go to work the next day.
Yeah, 100%. I think whatever you do as a person, just do what works for you and don't try to spit your beliefs onto other people or get angry at them for living their life the way they want to do it. If it's not directly affecting others, it's not violent, it's not, causing.
However, if at some point it became illegal to eat meat, would you understand or would you fight the government? Like, what if they just said that's life? Life is life. You cannot kill for food. There's other options. No more killing for food.
I would go with it.
Me too. I would go with it.
That's one thing I'm not willing to fight for. Black Lives Matter. Right. I'll go out there and I'll march all fucking day. You can't eat meat anymore. All
right.
I'll get over it.
I'll eat some Brussels sprouts or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I'll find.
But do you like the Wonder Meats, like the non-meats? Have you tried them?
I've had a couple of the burgers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
No, they're good. But it really becomes a matter of, but now what am I putting inside me? Because now I'm reading all these ingredients of words that I don't understand and things I've never heard of.
Well, you know what's really good for you? Fucking kimchi. Kimchi heals all. Like in Korea, they believe kimchi is like a miracle plant that cures all disease.
Damn straight, dude. Those probiotics, you put them in your stomach.
Probiotics, antioxidants, the fish oils. Yep. And it's a vegetable. Fucking cabbage. Cabbage is fucking really good for you.
100%, dude. I mean,
it's like a super vegetable.
I wish I had my jar right here to like show you. Although we're only doing an audio podcast, so it wouldn't matter any because then I'm just showing you a jar. But I have made a beautiful. You
can take pictures and send us so I could post when I'm promoting the episode. So you have to send me pictures of your kimchi jars and Kimchi the dog and Carlton the dog too. Like I need promo shit. Yeah. Otherwise, definitely. I just go through your Facebook and just steal stuff.
Well, that's okay too. And not my Facebook because there's barely anything on it anymore. But go somewhere else.
Instagram or whatever the hell.
Yeah. So
all right.
I mean, yeah. If meat all goes away one day, we had a good run, guys. I'm very happy with what I got to eat.
I'm with you on that. So one more segment is the questions from the internet. All right. So we have 2 questions. One from Tony Bartoloni.
Okay, love Tony. What's up, dude?
Tony says, I've never been able to tell. Perhaps he could shed some light. How does he feel? How do you feel about pugs? I guess we kind of already went over that.
I think we went over that a lot. Yeah, thanks. See, again, if somebody else read that, didn't know Tony, they wouldn't know about the sarcastic tone. I completely understand.
No, exactly.
Him, you know?
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, we love... Tony loves dogs, too. That's what another thing I love about Tony. All right, so we do have a... Go ahead.
I was going to say, don't all homeless people love dogs?
I guess this is our only friends, people that don't notice. Another real question from somebody I used to work with, actually, a really awesome person. Her name is June. She said, I don't know what you've covered so far, but here's some specific questions you could go over. What causes hot spots? Do you know what hot spots are on a dog?
No.
Hot spots are like random areas that get itchy for them, so they lick, and then becomes obsessive compulsive, and then it gets like they can lick down to the bone, like they'll just keep licking.
I've seen that before, where like if something is itching like in their paw or something like that, and you just go at it all day, or like sometimes like a nail will be a little bit broken.
Yeah, so something like that. Just to answer your question quickly, it could be a lot of things. A lot of times it's arthritis because dogs lick at their wrists, and people don't know why. People think it's like they're itchy, but no, it's just they have arthritis and it hurts. And they're just dogs. They can absorb a lot of pain, but it becomes itchy. And so they start licking. Or it's itchiness, or it's, hot spots can come from allergies, flea bite allergies, any kind of ectoparasites, outside on the skin parasites can cause those. And some dogs just have really sensitive skin and they're allergic to their dog food. And a lot of dogs develop allergies to their dog foods.
Whoa.
And people don't know that. So people think that their dog is allergic to the fabric softener, or to the detergent, or they're allergic to the cat or something outside. But a lot of times it's the proteins, the chicken, the popular proteins, the chicken, the pork, the beef. A lot of animals have allergies to or develop allergies to because those proteins are so processed in the dog food and the cat food. So you have to try novel proteins like duck or venison or fish, those kind, or rabbit. You'll see those kind of diets, or hypoallergenic diets where they have like hydrolyzed proteins. So the protein's already kind of broke down a little bit, less likely to cause irritation or allergic reaction. So hot spots, you gotta either find out if it's injury or allergy or parasite. Like those are going to be pretty much the top ones. And if I have a dog with a hot spot, it depends where it is. If it's on their back, like towards the back of their tail, it's probably fleas. If it's on their wrists, it might be arthritis. If it's all over their body, it might be a generalized allergic reaction to their food. So those just off the top of my head.
That was a good knowledge nugget for the day.
Tick-borne diseases, and she has a couple of questions. Tick-borne diseases and the importance of prevention, and how not all preventions include ticks like sentinel. Light sensitivity and topical flea tick preventatives. Okay, and then she wants to talk about 4th of July shit, which is great. Thank you for asking, June, even though this is going to come out after July 4th. So tick preventative. So there are a lot of tick-borne diseases, but there are not ticks everywhere in the world, right? There's only ticks where there are fucking the conditions for it. So you got to have tall grass, you got to have moisture, you got to have heat. It can't be too hot, it can't be too cold, it can't be too dry, it can't be too wet. So there's only certain areas where the seasons make it perfect for ticks, and then only certain ticks have carry disease, especially Lyme disease from deer ticks, and you only find deer ticks where there are deer. So if there's no deer ticks, there's no Lyme disease. But if there are deer around you, then there are definitely deer ticks, and there are definitely Lyme disease carrying deer ticks. So if you have deer around you, it's very important that you get your pets preventative, dogs and cats, because the dog could bring it in and give it to the cat, or the cat could bring it in and give it to the dog, or it crawls in from the fucking outside and gets on your cat and gives it to the dog, gives it to you, blah, blah, blah. So you should treat all your pets with flea and tick preventative all year round. And if you're in those areas, if you're in a place where it gets cold, like if it freezes over, you don't need flea and tick preventative during the frozen ground seasons. Other than that, you need it. And a place like LA, you need it year round. And there are ticks in LA because there are deer in LA, although you might not see them all the time. They're in the mountains where people go hiking, and people take their fucking dogs hiking, and then the dogs bring them from the mountains back to the neighborhoods, and then they get on the cats in your neighborhood, and then they proliferate. So get your pets on preventative for flea and tick year round if you live anywhere where it's always warm and there are mountains or any kind of nature around. All right. Light sensitivity, like when you're carrying the packages, usually you're not supposed to take your dog out before 24 hours. You put the topical shit on, wait 24 hours before it's actually going to work. Trazodone, but it'll work. It just won't work perfectly. It still will work, just not 100%. Trazodone for the 4th of July versus Ace. Ugh, God, this is a huge topic. And I got another podcast starting in 10 minutes. All right, June, you're killing me. I'm going to get through it, though. 4th of July. So they don't like using Ace Promazine because your dog still has a panic attack, but they're just sedated. So people don't like Ace Promazine, which is what most doctors use for a long time. Do your dogs freak out on 4th of July for fireworks?
A little bit if they're close by, yeah.
So Trazodone is a better option. It's a better sedation for them, but you got to get a prescription. And really the best thing for your pet during the fireworks is just be there with them, in my opinion. If you're there with them and you're soothing them, you're holding them, you're comforting them, it'll all be over soon. You know, it doesn't last forever. It lasts for a couple hours and you just got to get through it. But, you know, if your dog freaks out, Trazodone is great, but you have to get them on it early. You can't just use it day of. You have to be using it for like a period of time ahead of time. You get them used to it, and then, you know, you find out a dosage that works. Ace Promazine will work. It will put your dog out. But your dog, if you check their pulse or their blood pressure, it is skyrocketing. You know what I mean? They're still panicking. They just can't move. So people hate it. Signs of heat stroke. Yes, if you're going to take your dog hiking, bring water. I worked at a animal hospital in West Hollywood, and people's dogs die on Runyon Canyon all the time because they don't bring their dogs fucking water. And your little dog with little stubby legs cannot keep up with you. Even though you think your dog is a dog, if it's got little stubby legs, it's not meant for that. Your dog should not be open mouth breathing for very long up there without cold water. And I know they have the water stations there, and people skip them. People will have a dog and not even offer their dog water. Like,
yep.
Why don't you at least offer it to them? See if they want it. And dogs, maybe they don't drink it, so you pour it on them. If your dog won't drink water and they're open mouth breathing, get them wet their feet, wet their fur, pour the water in their mouth. Don't give them a choice. When they're really heat stroking, they cannot drink water anymore. You have to cool them down, pour the water on them. So that can save a lot of people a lot of fucking heartache. Especially you take your dog on a little run, you think you're having this bonding experience with your dog, and next thing you know, it's dead because you didn't know any better. That's the saddest shit in the world. We saw, and I'm not going to say this on the podcast, but a very famous person came into the West Hollywood place and their dog died. A very famous rock and roll artist. And I'll tell you when we're done recording. And I felt terrible for them. They were screaming in the other room. You don't hear celebrities scream like that, but they were so devastated. Anyway, what else? The breeds that are going to suffer from heat stroke are like your dogs, the pugs, the brachycephalic breeds with the short noses and the stubby legs. They're the ones that are most susceptible. And how difficult and expensive is it to treat once it happens? Heat stroke, I mean, you just got to cool them down, but it is an emergency situation. So once they start, they're going to take them to the place and they're experiencing heat stroke. They're going to treat it like a true emergency. It's going to cost you a lot of money. We're talking over $1,000 for sure. So just avoid it. And why you shouldn't shave your double coated dog in the summer or ever. So if you have like thick fur coated dogs like huskies and you shave their fur, their undercoat, you're not supposed to. It might never grow back or not grow back properly. Those are supposed to be dogs that you don't shave. So just do your breed research, you guys. If you're going to get a fucking dog, do some breed research. Don't have your husky in your apartment. We're going to get off. You got any shit you want to plug, Alex?
Just go to my website, hoopercomedy.com. Follow me on social media at Hooper Hairpuff. Go watch my America's Got Talent stuff if you haven't seen that before. And, just come see me on stage whenever the hell that comes back.
Thank you so much for being here, and we'll post all that in the description. Thank you guys for listening. You can find the Pet Peeves podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and a bunch of other ones on YouTube. Go follow that stuff. Go watch the Goon Squad comedy podcast, also another project that we're working on. Go watch Goon Squad at Goon Squad Comedy. We'll all be in the description. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Alex, one more time.
Thanks, Albert.
Everybody have a great rest of your quarantine. Thank you.